Good to go.
Should be.
And I will call this meeting to order. We've got a few announcements today. First off, I'm going to jump in here before we get to the RFP review panel. We've got a new member joining us for the first time today, and Cody Hollister. And Cody, if I'm not mistaken, in my fantasy football days, there's a tight end that might have played at Seattle with the same name. Is that correct? Am I going crazy?
That would be me, actually. I played tight end for Texas A&M, I think is who it was. So,
Yeah.
no, you're right. No relation other than coincidence. So,
Awesome. Can you, Cody, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got brought on and your relationship to the City Golf?
yeah, absolutely. So, I'm not originally from Wichita. I'm from an hour south of here, Arc City. Kind of grew up, born and raised. Moved to Wichita about 6 years ago. Have been here since. My fiance and I are, well, obviously getting close to being married. Call Wichita our home. Very passionate about the community, golf in general, golf advocate, obviously. Kind of by coincidence, I had just gotten reached out to from Philip Simon through a Facebook post. And he just, we got to talking and he asked if I'd be interested in sitting on here. Not entirely sure what this entails other than a monthly call such as this. And so excited to be a part of it. Again, just hoping to hopefully better the city courses and community and doing my part as far as what I can do to do that. So excited to be here. Thanks for having me. And yeah, we'll just kind of leave it at that. But
awesome. Well, we're happy to have you, and we'll kind of go around the proverbial room here. Eddie Fonnestock, born and raised in Wichita. Big golfer, went down to Southwestern, close to Arc City, and played a little bit down there. Came back up here. I've been on the park board for, 3 years now? 3 years. Thanks, Pete Meitzner. So it's been good. I've been appointed to the GAC for 2.5 years now, I believe. And like you, Cody, I'm just trying to better the city of Wichita courses. So we'll shoot over to Michael. Michael, are you ready?
I'm always ready, Eddie.
I know that. Saw that in the gym this morning.
That's right. I beat you to it. So that's a good tone setter. Cody, good to see you, man. I know Cody a little bit, have some mutual friends from the Arc City area, and I've not played golf with him, but I'm sure that's not too far down the road. But Cody, I mean, you know me a little bit, Wichita guy myself, very, very passionate about the game of golf as a connector, and more importantly, obviously, as a connector in a place like Wichita and what that means for the city and the public golf courses. So glad to have you on board. Unique time, right now for opinions and for suggestions and new thoughts when it comes to the city of Wichita in general and thus golf as it falls under that broader umbrella. So happy to have you on board. And if you have any questions, you want to ask myself, I'm more than happy to answer them, but we'll look forward to having you on these calls and hearing what you have to say, man.
Appreciate that.
Nancy? I'm just going right down the list here.
Oh, okay. My name's Nancy Knopp, and my golf history is I grew up playing golf in Salina, and I was on K-State's first women's golf team 100 years ago. And we were 7th in the Big Eight, and Colorado didn't have a team. So, but I've been playing golf in Wichita, primarily public courses, for most of the last 35 years, and a lot of women's organizations. Used to be KWGA board member for about 10 years, and now it's KGA. I'm still on a couple of committees with that, but and then the Women's Golf Association, as well as my own ladies golf association. It's Business Women's Golf League in Wichita, and so love golf. I married a non-golfer, so I don't get to play as much as I'd like to. But
Nice to meet you, Nancy.
Welcome to the group.
Niall?
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, it seems like everyone here, I grew up in Wichita, playing Wichita golf, and I was just thinking as introducing yourself. I got introduced to golf through my dad playing at Sim Park over 60 years ago. I was a previous member of this golf advisory board back, maybe 12 years ago. Been on the board since first of the year, December of last year, and looking forward to the exciting times we're going to have here in the near future. So glad to have everybody here, and let's carry on.
Excellent. I think that's everybody. So once again, welcome, Cody. Happy to have you. And we'll jump right into it. RFP review panel.
All right. Well, first of all, everybody got to talk a little bit about their golf experience. I wanted to talk about mine.
Go for it. Go for it.
After I got out of the Army, I went to school at the University of Northern Colorado, and I was an older freshman, which was kind of exciting. But my roommate, he was on the golf team, and so he drug me around to some of the golf events and stuff like that, and got to learn from him. And then I actually worked at the golf course with the city of Greeley. I was one of the low men on a totem pole of greenskeepers, and so I got to learn all the maintenance tricks of how to take care of a golf course, and that included waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But as a college student, you adapt and you have to make money, and so that's what I did. And oftentimes I would go to the driving range and hit some balls. Never did I ever expect that I'd be a director of Parks and Recreation and having the opportunity to oversee at one time 5 golf courses, but now 4. So very interested in the success of our golf courses and all of our programs. So.
While we're at it, we might as well open it up to our pros and Shanna, if you guys want to jump in here. And Penny, for that matter.
This is the extent of my golf experience.
All right.
All right. So on the agenda, we have the topic of the RFP review panel, and we did receive 7 firms that were very interested in taking over operations. Yes. All right.
Welcome, Richard.
Something I need to tell the folks on an information desk that it's at this. Get me for 15 minutes.
You can sit here if you'd like, Richard.
I just.
Cody, this is Richard Shodorf. As soon as he gets settled in, I'll let him tell him all about himself. I think that's exactly, well, missing a couple others.
Just came.
Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle.
Richard, we've got a new member here, Cody Hollister. We just spent the last 5 minutes or so going around the room and telling a little bit about each other and how we're involved in City of Wichita golf. So I'll pass this off to you.
So who do I get to tell them about you, or?
Absolutely not. No, I already did that.
I mean, I wanted somebody to cover that was more exciting. Yes, Richard Shodorf. I've been on the board for I don't know how long, and I'm general counsel for a company in town. Avid golfer, have delusions of winning the senior tournament at McDonald in a month, even though there's nothing to indicate that I'll become anywhere close. But yeah, just an avid golfer, and welcome to the board.
Appreciate that. Nice to meet you.
All right, Mr. Shortoff, we were just talking a little bit about the RFPs that we received. We did get 7 agencies that are interested in becoming the third-party operators for our courses. And so the way this is working, there's 2 steps on this. First step was for them to send in their information of their interest as well as their qualifications. And we looked at their qualifications and they're moving forward to the next step, which is going to be step B. And they're going to let us know their proposal, and we'll include all the financials of what they were looking at. So we have the board. It consists of several staff members and several members from the community. Mr. Fonnestock is on it. I do believe Mr. Ward, you're on it as well. And we have Mr. Ferris. He is going to be on it. He's going to be representing the community at large. And AJ, I can never remember his last name.
Yeah. AJ.
Anthony Jenkins is going to be, thank you, Shannon. Anthony Jenkins is going to be the 4th person on that. And then staff-wise, we always have somebody from the law department. We always have somebody from purchasing. We always have somebody from finance department, and then somebody from the Parks and Recreation department. So it's a pretty large committee, and there's certain rules that we have to abide by. So there's some training that's going to be administered. So Mr. Fonnestock and Mr. Ward, I think you're going to be contacted by our purchasing department, as well as Mr. Jenkins, and Mr. Ferris will be as well, so they can learn all the do's and don'ts of what it takes to do that. So it's going to be a pretty long process, but in the meantime, these 7 firms are going to be putting their proposal together the week of the 13th. We have given them permission to come visit our courses, ask questions of the staff, and then their final bids is due on the 24th. So that's a pretty good wrap up. I might have missed some details, but let me know if there's anything that I missed or any other questions you might have.
Any questions on this process? Okay.
Is there a time, a schedule that, as far as when you'd like to make a decision?
We would like to take it to, if everything goes in place, there's a lot of hoops to jump through, and then there's a decision to make as we evaluate the proposals. Are they even, is it even worth going down that road, or is it better to keep doing what we're doing? But the idea would be to take it to council the beginning of December, have a contract ready to go so they could take over operations in January.
Will the council, I'm assuming that they will have open debate?
Of course.
That'll be scheduled, so just checking.
Anything else? All right. Equipment purchases approved.
Before we go to that, I wanted to go a little bit off topic.
Sure.
And I was not present last month, and I just want to make some clarifications. There was some statements made that the golf pros are not allowed to create their own menu and that they are not allowed to make their own decisions. And I just want to make it crystal clear that they are, and that they've been empowered to do a lot of different things on their own. One of the situations also was questioned was computers over at Mac. And the situation is that there's actually 4 computers there. What we did was we offered to train the staff if they wanted to. They did not want to be trained. They could have done some computer moving on their own. So obviously those are some things that happen to delay moving the computers, but every opportunity has been given to the golf pros to be empowered to do a lot of the things that they need to do or want to do. So, and what's really frustrating to me is that when these things come up, that not all the facts are out there, and it's creating a divide between management and our golf staff out there. And so I just wanted to get this off my chest because I was a little frustrated when I heard and saw a little bit of the meeting from last month, that some of that information was not necessarily accurate. So I just wanted to get that out there. Also, in regards to the situation with COVID, yes, we did close the golf courses to be very proactive in the situation that was very dangerous and fluid. At the time, we did not know all the facts and all the information that was being dealt with COVID. And one of the populations that was most at risk are those folks that come to our golf courses. So I do not regret the situation that we closed the golf courses. And you could always look back and look at this. Hindsight's always 20/20, and you could always go say, well, we could have and should have done this and this and this. But at the time when we were making these decisions, there was some other things that were a little bit more important, like making sure people were staying healthy and alive, more so than anything else. So I just wanted to make that crystal clear, since I was not available last month to share that information.
And make a comment.
Please do.
And I will dig up the memos that I wrote to the department, to Troy. I have been in contact because we have 100 offices across the state, and I had told the city that other municipalities were working with their county health officer. I talked to Dr. Menace. He was willing to talk about structuring something. There was zero interest. We were the only one that shut down of all the municipal courses in the state. There was no reason to shut down, but the thing that frustrated me so much was that there was no interest in having discussions. And if you looked at what the county put out with Dr. Menace, he did not put golf in there, and neither did any of the other administrators. We could have done the same thing, that we lost so much money to Cheney, to Hidden Lakes, because all of them stayed open. Now, there was a particular country club that they tried to say that they couldn't stay open. They pushed back, and it was dropped immediately. It was the inability to want to sit down and obtain the information.
Well, I just want to let you know, Mr. Shortoff, that I did speak to the health department.
Dr. Menace?
No, I talked to Denise. I can't recall her name, but she's the director of the health department. And I did have a conversation with her, and a lot of it was our decision to make. Some other things that also happened was a lot of the private courses went and advocated for themselves, because they're in a different situation where they have a very finite group of folks that visit their courses. Ours is a little bit different. We have 4 different courses, and we have a lot of different folks that are coming in from different areas using our courses. So as a department, as an agency, as the city of Wichita, it was not just my decision. It wasn't just the decision of Mr. Hendricks. It wasn't just the decision of the city manager, but as an organization, we made this decision. What's best for our whole community. And we wanted to set the example of being very proactive in watching and taking care of not just our customers, but also our staff. We got a lot of reports of some other golf courses that had several COVID cases, which really had a concern for us. So those were all factors that we put into that. And that,
it was the unwillingness to talk to the county health officer.
That's not true. I talked to them. I talked to the county health department.
Did we close the pools as well?
We did.
How long were those closed?
They were closed all summer long.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing that I try to do as chairman is bring everybody together as a united front and keep everything moving forward. Certainly we can nitpick over the past decade, certain, problems and elements throughout the golf division. But that doesn't really do anything for us right now moving forward. I want to continue to move forward and push this community forward from a golf perspective. And that's my role as chairman here. So we can certainly look back last year for a couple months and say we should have did this, we should have did that. but in hindsight, that doesn't really help us moving forward in what we have to deal with today. The decision was made. It was out of an abundance of caution, I believe the term was that was so used last year. But I hope we can squash this today and move forward with what we have to talk about.
One
Sure.
comment, and that is, I don't think COVID's done with us, and I don't think we're done with COVID.
I agree.
And I think, and my hope is, if the decision comes up again, that we do consult with the individual who has the authority and who has the information, who has studied it.
And to let you know, that's something we talk about on a regular basis. We just had very lengthy discussion about whether should we have open streets available open or not. And of course, I'm consulting with the health department on a lot of different things. Adrian is the gal's name that I'm talking about. I have her on my speed dial there in my office because we do work with the county quite a bit. Okay.
So we certainly want to, have open discussion and want to hear everybody's thoughts. But as soon as something is decided in this boardroom or that boardroom or wherever we're at on Zoom last year, throughout the entire year, I hope that we can all come together as a committee and then inform the community why we made that decision and stay on that, same voice, same topic. So that's what I try to do as chairman, and I hope you guys understand that and respect that. Equipment.
All right, so we were pretty successful. We were able to get 4 pieces of equipment at the cost of about $240,000. I think one was a greens mower, a couple rough cut mowers, and another, I think it was a 72-inch mower. And we got them at a discount because we are associated with First Tee. So was a lot of work to get it done, but it was actually funding that we got out of our replacement fund, and I was pretty excited to get that going. We got the purchase orders there, and hopefully we will be accepting delivery of that equipment next week. That'd be great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can you go into a little bit more detail about the replacement fund for Cody here, where that's coming from?
So built into some of the fees that we have a little bit of money that's set aside for replacement of our equipment. So every time there's a greens fee that is spent, there's a little bit of percentage of that money goes into a separate fund, and it builds up over a year, over 2 years. And we had enough in the balance to actually pay for this equipment. So it's pretty excited about that.
Badly needed equipment as well. Okay, any questions on the equipment purchases?
This is Nancy. I have a question. When we look at the expenses on the different courses, are the equipment purchases reflected at each course, or is that just out of a separate fund?
Are you talking about this particular purchase?
Sure.
This comes out of a separate fund.
And so that that's not reflected in the expenses of a specific course.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Are we just on equipment purchases?
Yes.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
For budget. At the appropriate time.
Yeah, let me see here. That'd be under finance report, wouldn't it?
Okay,
The budget. That work for you, Richard?
sure.
Okay, any public comments? No public comments. No minutes to approve at this time. If anybody wants to go back and watch, you can click on the link there, provided by Penny. So moving on to new items. Driving range fee increase.
So the rest of you all had asked in regards to some feedback and some information. I think we provided some information last month. I gave some statistics and information about the fees, and this sheet here provides some information about the different fees at some of the local golf courses.
Does everybody have a copy of that spreadsheet that I sent out? Okay.
Yes.
So you guys asked for that information. Last month we provided it. And I think there was some tweaks that Shannon put together. But right here in this category of driving range, it shows driving range passes, large buckets, small buckets, what it costs. And over here on the left side is a list of all the different local courses. And so it could give you an idea, a comparisons of what we charge compared to what everybody else charges.
Any questions or comments on this topic here?
I do.
Okay.
One of the things that we have talked about over the years, and that is trying to tie as best we can, at least some of the revenue that would come from a fee increase, whether it's a membership fee increase or a day fee, to improvements for that course, so that the golfers understand that they're going to get better sand traps or whatever they might get. It could make it much more palatable if they actually saw that a benefit was coming to them, as opposed to just all the money going somewhere that they've never, that they'll never know. And so that was something that we talked about when we talked about fee increases. So I don't know where we are on that as a possibility.
Well, is it something that you guys want to do as a fee increase? Is that what you want to do?
Well, we suggested a fee increase 18 months ago. And at the time we suggested that, we said that we were going to tie that, at least some of the money, going to each course. In other words, it wouldn't be put into a pot and then, because quite frankly, most courses are territorial. Members tend to play a certain number of them, the same course over and over again. And my whole thing is just trying to make them feel that there's in it for something is in it for them. And that their priorities, not only like major equipment or a roof for the clubhouse, but that there's going to be something tangible that would actually, that they would benefit from, that they would see. Kind of like putting up the signs on the road, your dollar's at work. So.
Are you, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Are you proposing kind of a ranking system based on rounds played at each golf course, or what are you exactly
Yeah, I
proposing?
mean, the bottom line is, if I think a percentage could be done, or methodology would be something that we'd have to work on, but the methodology could be there. It could be based upon rounds, it could be based upon dollars, it could be based upon, but that, and it would only apply to the increase. That these are some of the things that will be done at this course from the money that would actually be brought in. Now, whether you tied it to each course or whether or not you just had specific projects that were available that they could look at to say, well, yeah, I'm paying X amount more for my membership, but it's going to benefit me.
I think I see where you're coming from. The thing that worries me is if we start ranking these courses based on, let's say, rounds. I don't have the rounds in front of me, but let's say that, McDonald has the least amount of rounds. We push that to the end and don't, look at them as a priority anymore, but instead we push some funds to Tex or Sim or Auburn or wherever they may be, and then we forget about MAC, and then it falls into disrepair. That would be my concern with that methodology. I think I see or understand where you're getting with this, but we have to be careful with looking at it in a certain sense of just.
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I can tell you right now that among the golfers, there is a, and I don't think this is a correct belief, but there's a belief that the debt service for Auburn is where all the money goes, and to other departments. And because they don't see, I mean, there isn't anything that's tagged that says, this is where this money will go.
So do we need to put new stickers on every piece of equipment, every mower that we buy?
No,
saying
I
this
mean,
is where your
I don't
dollars
want it
went?
to be mowers. I want it to be something tangible. I mean, honestly, you go out to Auburn, what is the liner at the bottom,
Yeah. the
weed
bumpers.
control. And I would say a third of the traps, you hit that. And what you get there is a bounce. Well, you hate to go into sand traps anyway. And when you get that and it blades right across the green, it doesn't lead for the sand traps at Sim are phenomenal. There's actually sand in them, and and you might think, well, you spend a lot of time in sand traps, Mr. Shore, and it's true, but that's beside the point. Just something where they feel like that somebody cares enough to even ask them in advance. What is it? What kind of enhancements would you like in this golf course? We're thinking about raising the fees, and we want to make sure that they go to the right places, or ask them where they would go, and then tell them you're raising the fees to fund the things that they are. Just so that there's a feeling out there that we're listening, that we care, and that their opinion matters.
And I think that's where we were trying to get with the pros wish list, because the pros obviously interact with these people every single day. There's no shortage of, the players will come in the clubhouse and say, this rough is overgrown or wherever. So I think that's what we were trying to get to with the wish list. And as I mentioned last month, I'm not sure if it looks like a quarterly or a biannual or an annual wish list that the pros can compile and bring back to us, and we start knocking these things out. I mean, as Troy just mentioned, 240K, is that right? That's a pretty substantial number that I think we heard from the golfers, that related to the pros, that related to us.
But it's nice to be asked.
Absolutely.
That's the bottom line, is we're hearing it from the pros, and I'm all for that, and that's great. It's a little PR that when you put up a sign that says, we care what you think, put in what you would like to see, and then you come back and say, oh, by the way, we're gonna fund that with a price increase. At least it says we thought enough to ask.
Sure.
Well, one of the big issues is that whatever money that we are making, extra revenue that we are making, is just to operate. It's not necessarily for enhancements, but it's to make the courses operate the way they should be operating. So most definitely, if there's something that says, well, we ended up making these improvements on the golf carts, we added up GPS on all the golf carts because we have extra revenue to do that. Well, that's great. Was that necessarily a need that we needed? At this point in time, no. The extra revenue was going just to make sure we're paying salaries, that we're buying equipment, that we're making sure that we are just still operating. So, I mean, I could definitely see if we are going above and beyond. But any kind of extra revenue that we're making right now is still just to have basic operations.
So can somebody, since I'm new, this will help me understand. So right, I believe it's Richard, what you're saying, right? If you go play another, Cherry Oaks or Hidden Lakes, right? If there's $1 or $2 increase, it's somehow getting funneled back into that course because that's the course that you're paying for. Whereas the city is a culmination of 4 courses. So how is it divvied up on a, you mentioned POP before. So right, do all the greens fees, all the fees generated from, whatever other sales, does that all get allocated to a lump sum fund and then divvied out based on expenses and revenue for those courses, or how does that work? Because I think what you're saying, I understand that, hey, you want to know that what you're paying for on the course that you play 75% of the time you're getting something in return for that, whether it be better playing conditions or new equipment or what have you. But can someone just kind of explain how the courses are organized as far as a P&L standpoint?
So the money goes to an enterprise fund, but we are able to track how many rounds are played at each one compared to whether it's passes or whether it's green fees, and we're able to dictate or give credit of revenue for each one of these courses. Obviously, some courses are busier and make more revenue than others, but the money goes to the enterprise fund, and that enterprise fund pays for all the expenses of the golf operations.
Got it. Okay. So do some operate in the red and some operate in the black?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, all of them are this year, if I do believe everybody's in the black. But in years past, we've had some that were in the red, and the other golf courses carried them through. Which is a really good thing, because that gives us more opportunities to have more golf, gives us flexibility in regards to where we spend our money and how we do our maintenance. If we had all the golf courses that were in the black and they got all the money, then just what Mr. Fonnestock was talking about, those courses that don't make as much revenue will continue to lose revenue because they won't get the funding that they need to be sustainable.
Thank you.
Niles. I see Niles' hand up here. Niall?
Thank you. We still charge a dollar surcharge, don't we, for equipment? Did that show up on the receipts?
I do believe it shows up on the receipts.
If you pay your green fees, you get a receipt. You're going to see that $1 of what you paid went into an equipment fund. And we also, you guys are pretty good about sending out a text message to your golf customers about what's going on in golf and keeping them updated on tournaments and that sort of thing. And I think what Richard's talking about is perhaps using that method, that media, to update golfers whenever equipment's purchased, and so they see that new mowers were bought for sim, or if next quarter they might get a notice that said that another equipment expenditure was made for McDonald, but in some way or another help them tie that $1 surcharge to the improvements that you're making in equipment updates. I think that's just smart marketing myself, and certainly would tie in with the work that you're doing through those text messages and those push messages through the golf app.
And really what I'm talking about is taking the same thing with equipment and taking it to other areas, like McDonald's got two areas where you literally have to use another bridge where you get traffic going both ways on a bridge that's pretty far out of the way, slows up traffic on that hole. And it says $1 is going to be used to out of your purchases to fix that, to fix the clean up the creeks, whatever it is, to take that same idea and put it over to something that really affects them. Equipment fund just isn't close enough as a marketing tool to, and as I said, I'm not asking that you do it right now. I'm just saying that if we pass increases, they're going to be easier to sell if they think there's something in it for them.
Well, let's talk about increases. what's everybody's thoughts on, let's kind of get back on track here, the driving range fee increase that we've talked about for the past 2 or 3 months? Has everybody had an opportunity to sit down? I know this was sent out earlier this afternoon and kind of take a look at this.
This is Nancy. I think the driving range fees are pretty on target with when you compare it to other courses in the area. So
I would agree with that. I think, seeing this, our closest, if you want to call them competitor, would be Newton, Sand Creek. They seem to, draw a pretty large Wichita contingent up there, and there's this, of course, they've got pyramids, of course, but $300 a year, you can go out and use it anytime. At 325, 750 buckets, that's pretty much 2 buckets every usable day in Wichita. Probably making your hands bleed a little bit. That's essentially unlimited to me. But in terms of, creating an equitable and approachable game, which is certainly one of our missions, here at the Golf Wichita, I think it's a fairly reasonable price. And right now, I don't see a whole lot of reason to bump that $25 or whatever it may be. But I'll open it up to you guys, and I want to hear your thoughts as well.
well, that was kind of what I was thinking is 750 buckets. I mean, putting a number on it, you might as well just say unlimited because that's a ton of buckets. And then that sounds like a bar. I mean, that sounds like they're getting something.
Yeah, and Eddie, that 325, is that billed one time? So do you pay that 325 singularly, or is it allocated monthly, or how is the invoice of the 125 paid? Or excuse me, 325.
Shannon, do you want to? Yes, paid one time.
So the only thing that makes me think about is like, I think you guys have probably all signed up for like any subscription based platform where they get you with options, right? And they tend to get you with the lower priced option where you say, look, well, it's 325 annually, you can pay now. And maybe that number sounds too daunting. And then they tell you, 325 divided by 12, 30 something dollars a month. Maybe that's a little more enticing. Or maybe you even charge, $400 if you do it monthly and you just get an invoice on a per month basis, or you treat it the same way you do the membership. Maybe just a suggestion more than anything, or something to look at if we send them out or invoiced monthly versus singularly, would that increase people to be more enticed to pay for the bucket? I don't know if it would or if it wouldn't, but just something that came to mind.
Yeah, I like that idea. I've seen that as well. I just did the quick math here on my phone because I'm not going to be peer pressured into doing mental math online here. It comes out to 325, comes out to $27.08 a month. If that number does sound too daunting to somebody, maybe we make it $30 a month or something like that and pose it in that way.
Yeah,
One other
And if it's something on the check.
Yeah, Shanna's just said we do have a smaller option, range card, 12 buckets for a price of 10.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud, like more than anything, a guy like me, I know my the membership per month would be $67. Now I know with $27.50, whatever it is, range card a month, I'm looking at under 100. Maybe I make my decisions based off of that. Whether it's right or wrong, it's all kind of semantics more than anything, just moving numbers around. But maybe it just convinces somebody who's not currently spending, an extra 30 something dollars a month to do so.
Yep. I think that unlimited tag does have a nice ring to it, Nancy. When you start counting 750 of anything, especially range buckets, I don't think I've ever counted 750 in my life, to be honest with you. So if we clip that unlimited tag on there, it might sound a little bit more appealing.
I'd be really curious to know how many of those we've actually sold.
Yeah.
But, but I think you're right. We could change it to,
Yeah,
Yep.
one thing I was going to ask was, I understand the annual commitments on a golf membership, right, for your greens fees and whatnot, but could that even be something that could be worth discussion, is doing a no commitment subscription essentially on the range buckets? Because I'm sure that would draw a lot of, I don't know, interest, I guess, for obviously your summer months that otherwise they probably wouldn't go do it anyways. I don't know, just a thought. I mean, I think personally for me, right, it's easy to go get 30, 45 minutes spent on a range on a weekly basis than it is, 9 or 18. But I also understand the economics of it might not make sense. I don't know. So just worth a thought. But
that's a good thought, Cody. One thing that we've tried to do here in the past couple of years is, certainly we've probably got 4 or 5 winter months here in Wichita, Kansas. We want to be able to get through those winter months, whether it's October, November, into February or March, as equally as possible. And certainly based on our numbers this year, we've seen a significant amount of success in doing it that way with our membership program, or subscription model, whatever you want to call it. So I would be hesitant to do it that way, because certainly we would see a bunch of summer months range balls, and then all of a sudden in October or November we drop off, and then we're without that revenue throughout the 4 or 5 winter months where we really need it.
Shanna put on here about never. Does that mean that we've never sold the driving range pass? Is that what that meant?
No, we've never had anybody hit $750.
Oh, and
So-
how do you track it? That's what
Well, it's set up as a smart card in our software. So they start with 750, and every time they come in, the staff just ring up 2 buckets off their account, and it just deducts from it. But now that we have Mac, golfers can get up to 6 buckets a day with that pass, but we've never had anybody hit 750. So changing it to unlimited, I think, is a great idea.
Okay, Niall, I see your hand up. Potentially on mute.
Sorry, I was having trouble getting to mute, unmute technology to get work. But I guess one of the things that I'm wondering in terms of fee increases and what we want to do with that now in September or October, or whenever those would go into effect, and the possibility that come January, there's going to be a whole new management regime looking at fees and costs and so forth. Is that I'm just wondering is how much we should take into account the fact that these fees are going to be looked at rather heavily when this new management comes on board, as to whether or not we really want to raise fees now with the idea in mind that we're just setting the stage for possible other fee increases that are going to come in another 6 or 7 months. And with the uncertainty of that, who's going to be in charge of that and when they're going to be in charge of that? Should that be something that we take into account as we discuss this?
That's a great point, Niall. It's something that, I've thought about as well. And when we talk about accessibility and affordability of our golf courses, I don't know what the exact number would look like if we increased it by 5% or $25 or whatever. It might be 5 or 7 grand. And what are we really getting from that? Certainly we want our golfers to feel like they're loved. We hear them. I've gotten several emails this week from golfers, sharing their concerns with me about increasing prices. And when I look at it, and if the RFP, we go forward with a third party operator, we're looking at from now until the end of December, basically. And what is our what is our gross, what is our net profit on this, 5 or 7 grand, but we lose 30 golfers. I think that's too many golfers to lose. Certainly we want to, you know, create a open environment for everybody. You know, if we don't move forward with the third party operator, maybe it's something we look at later next year. So with that, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we keep driving range fees as they are.
Can I tag on just for a second?
Absolutely.
You were saying that, you know, you've heard from a number of golfers, and I talked to a number of golfers, and the first thought that comes to mind, or the first reaction that I'm getting from people who are hearing that there's talk about possibly merging the Sedgwick County and Wichita Parks and Recreation. There's talk about, okay, we've got an RFP out there, and who knows who's going to be actually running golf in the near future. Are the people you're hearing from telling you what I'm hearing is that their first reaction to that is, oh boy, the price of golf is going to go up. That's the first impression they get, or the first reaction they have. You know, they're not thinking, oh golly, we're going to get all new carts, or oh golly, we're going to turn over all the pros. Their first thought is, oh, golf's going to get more expensive. And I wondered if that's what your impression has been from the folks that you've been hearing from.
I've certainly heard those concerns, Niall, and I hope that, you know, those golfers trust us enough that, you know, we can make the right decision for everybody. You know, certainly when there's change, there's always, you know, uncertainty. But we've been put in a position to make decisions for the greater good here, and I hope they understand that and trust us with that.
And so that ties in with should we impose upon that trust by any fee increases now?
So let me help a little bit, because Niles, you talk a lot about timing, and I think timing is really important when we talk about this. The reason why prices increases didn't go any further 18 months ago when we talked about it was because of this idea of First Tee taking over our golf courses. And so council didn't want to move forward with that because that was still a discussion and still a viable option. And now we're in the same kind of situation. Is we're looking at a third-party operator. Why would we want to change anything now if there's an opportunity or a possibility for somebody else to operate our golf courses? If today you were to make a motion to increase fees, it would go to the park board, probably not this month, but next month, which would be October. It wouldn't go to council until November. And that would just be 1 month of price change if there was a situation where there was a third party operator taking over the courses. So I think this is really good discussion and dialogue to have a better understanding of what the situation is. If the situation occurs where Parks and Recreation Department continues to operate the golf courses, you guys are now familiar with all the statistics, all the pieces of information, all the facts. That way you can make a better decision once we have a better idea of what's going to happen with the management of the golf courses. So I think this is a great discussion to have, and this is great information for you guys to have. As a staff person, I would think it would not be advantageous to make any changes now with a possibility of a change in the future.
And I'll add one more thing to that, Niall, in terms of the people reaching out with concerns and prices increasing if they take over. You know, I think it'd be really silly for somebody to come in here and try to outpace the market. You know, certainly we would, if we see that somebody's trying to get rich quick, off of a golf course. First of all, it's a terrible use of their time and efforts trying to get rich quick off of a golf course. We would certainly throw that out and not consider them as a viable option.
With
I think the what I'm hearing tells me that at this point, if any motions to increase fees between now and before we have a recommendation as to the RFP and who the park board thinks is the best option. I just don't think that right now is the time to increase any fees. That I think you said it before. What we'd get back in that interim between the time we actually got around to imposing those fees and then turning over the potential of a new operator. I don't know. I just think it would be if the golfers would see that as yeah, golf got more expensive now, and it's going to get even more expensive if the private operator comes in. So I think I would just have to go on record as opposing any fee increases between now and when the RFP is decided.
I'll go ahead and amend my motion then and just, include all fee increases until there's a decision made on the RFP, that we decline all fee increases. Keep it.
I'd second that.
You got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I'd like to fix that. Yeah, now I was on the committee that looked at the last RFP, and every single one of the applicants was suggesting significant increases. They have to figure out a way to make money. It'll be interesting to see how the RFP bids come in. I've not seen any, obviously, but just in historical, and that was Arnold Palmer, Billy Casper, all of the main ones, as well as the folks up in Sand Creek. So if you're looking at taking $400,000 out of the system in a bid, the money's got to come from somewhere, and only so much of it come from employee changes in employee benefits. So
I think it's a really good time to remind everybody that, just because we go out to an RFP process, we do not have to accept any. We can continue to operate as we are right now. That's all I'll say on that.
As I was
Especially
sharing with
since we're
staff,
making lots of money right now.
and as I was sharing with staff, is that this is an opportunity for us to look at our operations and compare to what's being proposed, and it'll give us some opportunities to look at some improvements and where our holes are. Maybe even steal an idea or two. I don't know. We'll see.
Is that ethical?
I would say borrow.
I'd call a question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, go ahead now.
No, I say let's call the question.
Okay, I thought you said I had a question. Okay, any more discussion? We've got a motion and a second on the table. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I'd like to add that I think this is great discussion and really good information because, like I said, it's 50-50 whether a third-party operator is going to take over or we're going to continue within the Parks and Recreation Department. And then if we do, we need to still have this conversation, I think. So, some of the times we put this information and just kind of put it behind the refrigerator. But if we end up continuing to operate in December or January, we might want to have this conversation again. And
well, we'd be able to see longer term benefits.
Yeah, and we can provide more details, more information, more data, especially as we compare it to some of the proposals.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure you guys don't forget about it. That if we do end up still operating, that this should be one of our main topics that we talk about come January.
Okay.
Hey, and on that note, I'm gonna say one thing, and I'm gonna say it as much so I have the recording to go back and remember it if we find ourselves in January to reference. I think it's such a unique dichotomy, right? Because I sit on the advisory council and I see from the city's viewpoint, keeping green spaces publicly accessible and publicly affordable. But as a golfer, I also see the value or lack thereof, or wherever that pendulum swings from the four courses, and know that it takes money and may take increases to get those to the level we all want them, or to help sway people from going to a place like Cherry Oaks or going to a place like Sand Creek and keep themselves local. So it's a weird balance. It'll be really interesting in the proposals to see the entities who manage public golf courses on behalf of municipalities similar to us with more than one course. It's really easy to do, right, with just one, because you know where the money's coming and you know where it's going. But I'll be really curious to hear or see if there's anything we may be able to glean from those people who manage on behalf of a city multiple courses in one area that remain publicly accessible and publicly affordable. So that's just kind of what came to my mind as that conversation was started. And as we hear what those will be something I think about for the sake of that conversation 6 months from now, if it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
I have a quick question about that spreadsheet. Went on Sand Creek Station and under cart rentals, it says included with cart fee. Is that a typo? Should be included with green fee? And is that true if it is included with green fee?
Yeah, that's a typo. I'm sorry. They
Oh,
don't give you a price just for their cart rental because they bundle it in with the green fee.
okay. Okay. Good.
You don't want to walk that course, I promise you.
Oh, I know.
All right. Do we have Emma with us? For the
We do
financial
not,
report?
and when I talked to her, the books weren't closed for August, obviously, because it's September 2nd. So the last piece of information she gave you was July, and that's the most recent we have. So,
Can I interrupt for a moment?
Yes, sir.
If I drop out, are you still gonna have a quorum?
Not sure we're going to be voting on anything coming up unless I'm missing something.
Okay, well, I happen to be a single parent today with a dog that's beginning to get unmanageable. He wants to be fed, let out, and taken care of. So I'm going to sign off, and if that doesn't hinder your continuation.
I don't think it will. You're good to go.
All right, thank you. Good luck to all of you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Niles.
It looks like the rounds report will be available next month. Continuation of prior business. Of course, we just voted on no rate increases until we get the advice based on the RFP. Do you want to talk about the retention rate?
I think this is an interesting piece of information. You guys had asked for this, and Appelhans put this together, and what it was really kind of interesting was she's got that broken down month by month. Hopefully you guys have this piece of information, this piece of paper, and listing the amount of new members that came on board, and it represents a percentage, and then the cancellations and what that percentage is, and then the final column is the total amount of members. So from May of 20 to, I'm just going to say, June of 20 to June of 2021, there's been an increase of that's about 500 memberships. And so there is a pretty good retention. We do lose, and there's cancellations there. You can see the cancellations in numbers starting with May 2nd, 5, 2, 5, 5, 5, 4, 10. But then, with the exception of 1 month, that's kind of glaring to me, November 20th, we had no new members. We had 10 cancellations. But then you look at some of the other ones like March 21st, where we had 103 new members and we lost 5. So in general, I think the retention rate is going pretty strong.
I've got one suggestion, if we've looked at it or not. We see 0 new members in November of 20. There's probably gonna be a correlation there, with the cold months, 10 cancellations. Have we thought about, offering a subscription, to whether it's, a senior or, a junior or whatever it may be, allow them to have that membership, but not pay until March?
So one of the whole reasons why we wanted this was because we needed cash through those winter months. And what we used to do, and we were fortunate this past year and the year before, because we've had constant cash flow to pay staff and pay all of our expenses. But what I used to have to do is in January, get a loan from the general fund, put it into the enterprise fund, and then pay it back.
And I should say new members, first-time members.
Yeah, okay. I mean, these are all things we can do, but then every time we add a new wrinkle, we put something new in regards to, here's a new program, there's overhead costs with that. There's staffing that has to audit all that information. And so it does get more and more cumbersome. I think about our easiest and quickest operation is our swimming pools. They come in, here's my $1 to swim, and it's an instant transaction. Low overhead. But in a situation right now where we're charging and doing bank drafts, Shanna has been having some real issues with the software, and we actually had some really interesting things the past couple of days where we were trying to correct them, and I think they're being corrected where we might have double drawn from somebody's bank account, and that means more work to try to fix that, or that they weren't necessarily drawn at all. So it just adds more complexity, which means I would need more staff to do it, and right now I don't have that.
I understand it could be a moot point at the end of the day, based on what happens, but just a thought, something that, if we continue to operate 2022, that maybe it's something we look at.
Okay.
One thing I have to say, when Rick Ferris and I came up with this whole thing, we brought in 4 PGA members, and they all said it would not work. They all said that we needed to raise fees. And so, and we fought for it, and it was kind of indicated that may not be perfect, but it's benefiting a lot of people in this town.
Applehans and I had a conversation. We talked about this, and for the senior members, senior memberships, you play 3 rounds a month, and you actually come out ahead. So it's not like you have to play a whole lot of golf. Obviously, you're not going to play in December, January, February. Maybe you will. Maybe you will.
Good.
But when you talk about affordability, and the question, and we got some of those emails too, is, hey, you're gonna raise prices? I'll just take my business somewhere else. But if they have a pass, if they're really interested in playing golf, boy, what a deal that they're
Yeah,
getting.
it's a sweet deal.
But here's the deal. Our pass system that we had before was killing us. It was literally killing us because they only played May through September. And then you didn't even get the October and November. It went straight to hell because their whole thing was they had to bring X amount of money in. So we did the breakdown and we were losing our shirt. This is so much better than what we had, but it was always thought that there would be an adjustment.
Anyway, I've seen that done elsewhere and I figured I'd bring it up, so, I'll let you continue.
Oh, I was done. I
Okay.
think, again, we do lose, memberships. People move, their financial situation changes. They, lose interest in either our golf courses or in golf altogether. We've heard all the excuses, or all the reasons, I shouldn't say excuses, all the reasons why they made the cancellation. But I think as more and more folks are being exposed to the membership, we're seeing more and more people joining in, as the numbers can tell you.
Yeah.
So,
Excellent. Well, go ahead, Richard.
Two quick points. We're obviously, at all the courses, we need people. And we looked at or thought about it all, trying to offer something like, free golf for next year to get somebody to come, maybe retired, to come back, because it's a product that we're basically, it wouldn't cost us that much to offer somebody something of that nature to, I mean, the one thing I'm hearing is, boy, I mean, and I know it's everywhere, but we need people. Can we sweeten the pot somehow?
we've done some things. I remember Alpahans put out some free golf for the ladies for a week. It was, help me remember, it was LPGA week or something like that.
Women's Golf Day, June 1st. It's a worldwide event, and every woman in Wichita could go golf any of our courses for free.
So that was one example. But I think
If you were red.
We let anybody, but we encourage them.
yeah.
I'm talking about getting help for the courses.
Yeah, I think it's
Employees.
something that we
Are you
can
talking-
look at.
Oh, you're talking about staffing?
Yes,
Okay.
staffing to sit there and have, because there's, from what I understand, we can't hire people.
Well,
And I know that the city has looked at, next year, the bottom wage is gonna rise, but, right now, we need people. And if we can give something away that isn't going to cost us in exchange for getting somebody to really help us in the next few months, it just seems like we're wearing our staff out, and I think we have to be seriously trying to guard against people just walking away.
it's been really hard. We had the hiring freeze was our nemesis in this whole situation. We finally got the green light to start hiring some staff. By that time, folks that were kind of interested in getting a job were probably getting jobs somewhere else. We're just really behind, but I've taken notice that some of our pros have actually started doing some interviews. We are working with Syndio, which is
Outsourcing.
yeah. They're gonna get us a few bodies in the next week or so. And it's just been really a difficult situation as some of them are going back to school. We're looking at trying to find some retired folks as well. So yes, the effort is there. The benefits of coming to work for the golf courses, you get have a certain amount of work, a certain amount of hours, you get to play for free. So
I know, but what I'm saying is being creative to look at if we need 5 people, and you look at it and say, we need 5 people for 3 months, you come in, we're gonna give you golf all next year, even if you don't work with us.
What's tough about that is we might not be able to honor that. Right?
Well,
Next year.
you always just work, that can be worked into a contract so easy.
Work out on job. Okay,
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you work into contracts all the time.
sure. Anything else?
One last question. What is our policy on sweeping vacations?
sweeping vacation.
Yeah, the city, sweeping vacations. I heard that people have lost huge amounts of vacation time.
So at your anniversary date, If you're above 240 hours of vacation, you lose it. So there's plenty of time for them to be able to use their vacation before that. If on their date of their anniversary date, they're above that and they don't ask for an extension, then they lose it. We've had a couple folks that the day of or a couple days before had asked for extensions, and we weren't able to get the paperwork in time to get the city manager to sign off on it. So well, it used to be you get a paper check, and every paper check you would have all your hours listed on there. Now it's online, but still you could go back online and it tells you, hey, you are over hours, you better use them before you lose them. And so they have to have that.
But what I'm hearing is we weren't in a position for them to take off because they were massively understaffed. And here we are in August, and if they had taken 6 weeks off during the summer, we would have just been in a world of hurt.
Well, they should have been planning that in February, April, May, June, July. They can ask for time off. Nobody says they can't ask for time off.
But we had nobody to take over the courses.
But if you don't ask for time off, then there's opportunities where we can make adjustments or changes or move schedules around.
Can they use their vacation for when they get laid off? I mean, what is that, furlough?
They did.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what the policy is.
Yeah.
So,
A good example is my anniversary date is November 3rd. I have over 300 hours of vacation. Well, about 300 hours of vacation. If I don't use it by that time, then I lose it.
Anything over that 240 hours.
Yep. So I got to make arrangements, and that's why obviously last month I was not here because I was using, I even had a whole lot more than that. But I'm expecting that I'm going to lose some on my anniversary date because I'm not going to probably take any more vacation other than some small days here and there.
And there's nothing that the city has to where they look at alternatives to just losing it altogether.
If they ask for an extension, they would. I've never denied an extension. The city manager has never denied an extension, but you have to do it before your anniversary date. And if you don't do it before your anniversary date, there's really not much I can do about that.
I know, but so it has to be signed off.
By the city manager.
It's not when you request it. So if you request it and it just never goes on vacation, legally, the point in time at which, because you don't control the second half of it, it's not when it gets approved, it's when it's requested. I think, I'm not a labor lawyer, but I think they may want to look into.
can we finish this conversation outside? Let's get
Sounds
back
like
to the agenda here. For the president's update, I want to cede my time to, I see Scott and Steve still with us, so I'd like to cede my time to both of our professionals here. Anything that you guys want to talk about or share, this is your time. Thank you for being with us, by the way. Maybe.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. No, I just wanted to say, we're, as was stated, we're kind of fighting some staffing issues because a bunch of our summer staff has gone back to school. So we're trying to work that out. Not that it's different than many other years, just with us being busier than normal, it's taken a little bit of a toll on even the remaining seasonal staff I have here. So have some interviews set up, hopefully get something worked out in the next couple weeks to help alleviate some of the stress on the seasonals. But no, we're still rocking and rolling. Very busy. High school golf has started. So once the heat breaks here, I think our tee sheets will continue to stay full through the fall. We'll take a little bit of a dip during aerification week, but as we've seen, we bounce right back pretty quick from that. So that's all I've got.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Scott, you got anything?
Gonna echo what Steve said. I mean, things are still steady pace. Rounds are down maybe just a little bit compared to what they were maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, but that's, you know, the Labor Day holiday coming up. Staffing wise, I've had a couple interviews for F&B for the remainder of the season. We got about 10 events coming up of significant size, as does Steve for the remainder of the fall. So just trying to hang on to what we have, manage what we can, and, you know, maybe regroup after aerification and see if we can't kind of rebound and take this thing to the house to the end of the year. But it's been busy.
Awesome. Love it. Nancy, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a couple things. One, I would really like to see the finance report and the rounds report before next month's meeting. Is that a possibility to get those out to us in the next week?
When it closes out, we can definitely get that information and we can send it
Okay.
to everybody.
Okay. Yeah, I just think it's nice to be as current as we can before the next meeting comes up. And then the other thing that I wanted to just mention is that I'm sure that you guys have seen this Evolve fall uh, publication. There is not one thing about golf, and I know that we used to have, the city used to put out a golf publication separate, but it just seems like a missed opportunity that we don't put anything about our golf courses. I know right now the courses are plenty full and busy, so maybe that isn't even necessary, but I just, you know, golf is an important part of our city activities and the Parks and Recreation Department. I'd really like to see it represented in this magazine.
Shanna?
Yeah, I just wanted to answer Nancy's question there. We do have an ad in Evolve regarding our volunteer day that's coming up next week at Sim, and then the one next month at oh, I think it's Auburn Hills is our last one. But the issue with Evolve is that it's shared with 3 departments. And so because of the massive size of the publication, the ad space is very limited. So our department only gets about 2 pages worth of ads. And so they give me a quarter to sometimes a half page ad, depending on the season. We try to get one ad for golf in there every time it's printed. And like you mentioned, we do print our annual golf guide, but obviously we didn't print this year because of COVID. And right now we're holding off for next year. But we definitely do try to get the ads in Evolve.
Oh, I didn't even notice ads. I was looking for just mentioning the golf courses, you know, where they're located and what they are. That's so I didn't see the, I wasn't looking for ads. I was looking for the, you know, content, I guess. So, okay.
Ads is
Thanks
the
for
term that we use. So if I'm able to put anything in there, if they have space, they'll give, we call it an ad, like a quarter page or an eighth of a page or a half a page. One time I got a full page. It was a really slow season for the other departments.
Well, it just seems like they could put in, you know, even just a couple pages where we could have a one spread of just saying we have golf courses and this is where they are. Um, something like that. But anyway, thank you. That's what I was looking for when I picked it up the other day at the golf course.
I think if we have the opportunity to continue operations here within the department, we'll go back to our golf guide. That will cover all that.
All right. Anybody else? Anything we need to cover before we adjourn? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.
For the parking